Qingtang Academy is a place packed with loaded trust fund kids and fancy luxury rides. But right inside the academy, some drama is going down. Our MC, Lin Huang, is threatening some dude, telling him he's going to regret this big time. The bully, Zhang Yang, and his sidekick just crack up, mocking our boy's pathetic blood value, which is barely 0.62, compared to Zhang's solid 3.5. His buddy chimes in saying Lin Huang only got into the academy riding his talented sister's coattails. Then, Zhang steps up with the medicine in his hand and asks if this isn't exactly what he wanted so badly. With a wicked smirk, he just drops the vial. Lin Huang screams in total panic and dives to try and catch the potion before it hits the deck. But he's a second too late, and the glass completely shatters all over the floor. Our boy's face instantly drops. Without even giving our MC a second to process, the bully grabs him and tosses him away like a literal sack of potatoes. After that, he steps in our MC and tells him that trash belongs in the dumpster. Suddenly, the attacker gets spooked by something. He plays it cool with a smirk and just walks off. Down on the ground, our MC is kicking himself, realizing he's gonna have to work overtime to afford a new health potion for his sister. Filled with rage, he swears that Zhang Yang and his lackey are gonna pay for what they did. Just then, someone reaches out a hand to help him up, totally taking him by surprise. It's a pink-haired girl named Lin Xin, checking in to see if he's holding up okay. She introduces herself as a third-year classmate and insists on knowing if he got hurt. But then his boss rings him up, yelling that he's late for his shift. Our guy grabs his backpack and bolts, yelling back that he's on his way. The girl stays behind, watching him run off with a super thoughtful look on her face. So, while our MC is pedaling his bike, the narration drops some lore. Back in the year 4832 of the old era, the world flipped upside down when a mysterious pollution rolled in. Facing this massive crisis, humans started awakening superpowers, becoming highly respected warriors who fight on the front lines to keep humanity safe. Time moved into the Gaowu era, and they figured out that not even crossing over to the other side saves you from the pollution. It turns people into mindless, walking husks. And the only known way to deal with the contamination and these monsters is by literally burning them to a crisp. Speaking of which, our boy reveals that his after-school gig is actually at the local incinerator facility. His daily grind is to purify the remains of the fallen brought back from the front lines. So, he gears up for his shift. He smashes a button to get the process rolling. Rocking his hazmat suit, our MC realizes his sister's nutrition pod renewal is coming up and he needs 200,000 before the end of the month. He thinks about how, totally unlike him, his sibling was a prodigy, rocking a blood value over 10,000 by her second year. Right on their 17th birthday, she randomly slipped into a coma. Staring at her pod, he remembers that since that day, she hasn't woken up once. Walking past the remains of a warrior and a beast, he reflects on how he was born with zero talent and was always protected by her. But now it's his turn to step up. He walks up to one of the fallen, doing the math. He makes 20,000 per incineration, so today's cash covers the meds, and 10 more of these bad boys will pay for the pod. Right as the vessel slides into the flames, things get super spooky. The husk starts screeching, and this bizarre black energy just erupts from it. He watches the fallen figure writhe around, knowing that if the process isn't done right, they can mutate into actual monsters. Our MC's eyes practically bulge out of his head. Totally shook, he wonders what the heck is going on since this has literally never happened before. Staring at the fire and that shady energy, he's completely clueless and wondering what on earth he's looking at. The next second, streaks of that dark energy shoot right out of the incinerator, and all that sketchy energy zooms straight for our boy, leaving him frozen in place. The black energy smacks our MC smack dab in the forehead. Right after, he questions what the heck is happening, because his whole body feels weirdly cozy while a blue light starts glowing from him. Suddenly, a massive headache hits him out of nowhere, and he starts getting flashbacks to a past that isn't even his, seeing silhouettes of monsters and people. In one of these memories, a dude asks his buddy, Li Yang, what he's going to do after graduation, and he replies that he's 100% joining the military. The scene goes on with the two of them shaking hands, locking in Li Yang's destiny as a future soldier. Then, the young soldier is shown working out, while an instructor barks at them that they need to sweat more in training, so they take way less damage on the battlefield and unlock their full potential. Li Yang and his squad keep pushing themselves to the absolute limit to toughen up their bodies for combat. The warrior is seen practicing his strikes, flexing his pure dedication to leveling up. Years later, out on the battlefield, he's screaming at everyone to wipe out the beasts and defend the country, right as their defense line crumbles. And then, everything just wraps up in a massive explosion, signaling a tragic end for that soldier. Snapping back to the present, our guy feels this heavy pressure as a system loading bar pops up right in his field of vision. He tenses up, having zero clue what this blue interface in his mind is all about. Out of nowhere, a holographic notification pops up behind him, announcing that the Soul Devourer system has been activated. While the system is yapping, the demon wolf stands right up. Our MC starts freaking out, wondering what the heck this so-called Soul Devourer system even is. The wolf, looking tonally savage, glares straight at our boy. He is literally scared out of his mind. Without a second thought, the giant wolf lunges right at the MC. Seeing that things are about to go south real quick, he tries to block it with his arm. The sheer force of the attack slams our MC hard into the ground. Just then, the system pops up, letting him know it scanned warrior Li Yang's memories, handing him 3 skill options to pick from. Even while getting jumped, he stares at the screen and desperately screams out the letter B, locking in the combat skill. The system confirms his choice and hits him with a notification that the skill is secured. Still on the floor, he gets a prompt from the system telling him to use actual combat to grind up his proficiency with the new technique. The beast snaps the rest of the chains on its paw, gearing up to charge him again with everything it's got. Busting out his new moves, our boy manages to dodge the beast's strike, which completely wrecks the floor on impact. He sticks a flawless superhero landing, dragging his hand across the ground and flexing some insane new agility. Wrapped in a blue aura, he feels this crazy power flowing through his veins, making his vision sharp enough to predict the monster's next moves. Not wasting a single second, the 4-eyed creature roars and rushes him yet again. Our guy narrowly sidesteps the beast's attack, which absolutely obliterates the spot he was just standing on. Breathing a sigh of relief, he thinks to himself, "That was way too close." He's blown away when he realizes his body moved completely on its own, using the martial arts from the memories he just absorbed. Feeling himself now, he basically hits the wolf with a "bring it on." With a dead serious look, he catches the monster's paw, stopping its charge right in its tracks. Then, he spins around and delivers a massive kick right to the creature's gut. The hit packs so much punch that it sends the beast crashing to the ground, knocking it out cold. Looking down at the knocked-out beast, our MC is shook, wondering when the heck he got so OP. It then clicks for him that it's all thanks to the system, which cooked him up with level 1 martial arts, boosting his stats by 10% and letting him spot his opponent's weak points. Staring at his hands, he questions why this is even happening, and guesses it might have something to do with that weird blue light from earlier. The system hits him with an alert that there's a fallen vessel nearby ready to be devoured. Flashing a wicked grin with stars in his eyes, our boy figures that since the monster's remains are right there, he might as well take the system for another spin. But first things first, he collects the soldier's ashes into an urn and carefully places it in a compartment. Paying his respects, our boy says his goodbyes, whispering, "Thank you, rest easy." After that, he walks up to the monster's remains, remembering that last time, the power-up triggered during the purification process. So, he reaches out and pokes the beast's fur just to see what goes down. The second he makes contact, a massive wave of black energy bursts from the monster's shell and starts wrapping around him, making him wonder what in the world it is. The shady energy completely surrounds him, and he can literally feel the power getting absorbed. With his body covered in dark markings, a crazy headache kicks in as the energy floods his system. He starts screaming, getting hit by a whole new wave of memories that definitely aren't his. In his visions, he sees the creature brawling and hunting out on a battlefield. The monster is just chomping down on soldiers non-stop, roaring that it's not enough, and it needs to feast on more. Then comes what looks like the final vision of the wolves completely wiping out the troops. He realizes he just binge-watched the entire life memories of that beast. The system then chimes in, letting him know it scanned the creature's soul memory and offers him 3 brand new skills to choose from. The MC just stares at the system. Deep in thought, he figures out that the furnace light just jump-started the system, and now he can absorb and read the memories of anyone he touches. Our boy gets a little freaked out by the Devour skill, thinking there's no way he could stomach actually eating people. So, he decides to go with the claw technique, since he's already seen it in action before. Right away, a dark red energy wraps around his arm and it starts transforming. The transformation wraps up, and the system lets him know he can switch to the claw form mid-fight. Hyped up, our MC checks out the specs of his new skill, which boosts his attack and deals slashing damage, thinking it's sick that he can morph his hand like that. But then he finds out the Soul Devour skill has a 12-hour cooldown, and he's totally caught off guard by the restriction. Determined to figure out his new toolkit, he sits down to catch his breath. He pops open the menu and spots the use and absorb options for the military technique, wondering what the heck that second one does. Then it hits him that maybe absorb means stacking the exact same technique to buff it up. But since there's no way to know for sure right now, he figures he'll just have to put that theory to the test later when he gets the chance. While messing around with the interface, he's shocked to find out that the Soul Devourer skill itself actually has a level. He realizes this means the system can rank up, but there's literally zero instructions on how to pull that off. So, our main guy decides to focus on what he can control, figuring he'll crack the code on upgrading the interface later. He figures that since the military technique was super handy, he might as well use this downtime to grind it to proficiency. With that in mind, our boy starts practicing the moves, flashing back to his fight with the soldier. He starts throwing strikes, letting his energy flow. As he trains, he notices the moves are getting harder and harder, thinking a regular student would never be able to pull them off. But since he inherited Li Yang's memories, even with the difficulty spike, it feels like he's practiced this stuff countless times. Our boy wraps up the combo, chanting hard. He then turns around, feeling the power surging through him. Satisfied, he notes that the military technique is way more complex than the school one, and even though he's wiped out, his energy and blood flow feels super sharp and focused. Hyped about the results, he hypes himself up and shouts that he's going for another round. Suddenly, he jolts awake in the classroom with his teacher yelling his name. She calls him out for snoozing in class and roasts him, saying that with his low blood stats he's never making it to college and will end up working construction. While a classmate snickers at him, embarrassed, our MC just takes the L, admits he was wrong, and apologizes. Soon after, class wraps up and the teacher walks out. Thinking it's a shame the kid doesn't put in more effort. Still groggy, he realizes he got so carried away training that he pulled an all-nighter and didn't sleep a wink. But he gets pretty frustrated when he sees his proficiency only hit 11%, feeling like the grind is way too slow. He figures real combat has to be the best way to max out his mastery and starts wondering about that absorb option. Right until a classmate starts talking trash. The lackey, with the poop-shaped hair, tells him that since Lin Huang is never going to be a warrior, he might as well drop out and go beg on the streets with his bedridden sister to make a quick buck. The bully tenses up at our boy's glare, wondering why his whole vibe just shifted out of nowhere. Right then, a girl named Lin Jin steps up to defend our MC, telling Zhao Lei he crossed the line, but he just tells her to mind her own business. Our boy stands up and just bounces. Watching our main guy walk away, Lin Xin blushes and thinks about how he's looking way more handsome and fit lately. Zhao Lei then yells out, calling our guy a scared loser who's just acting tough so he can run away. But our MC stops dead in his tracks. He looks back and challenges him to a brawl in the martial arts room, since he's begging for a beatdown. Zhao Lei's buddies bust out laughing, pointing out that his blood value is 2.7, which is practically quasi-warrior level, and warn our MC not to bite off more than he can chew. Our boy sets the rules for a no-holds-barred sparring match where anything goes, and Zhao Lei smirks and accepts, saying he brought this on himself. Word of the fight spreads like wildfire, and the students rush over to the martial arts room all hyped up, saying it's been a minute. In there, our boy faces off against Zhao Lei and his crew, who surround him in the middle of the room, ready for the showdown. One of the bully's friends hypes him up, saying his blood stats are way higher and he can end this whole thing in one punch. He drops into a fighting stance, warning that since Brother Zhang isn't around, he'll personally teach him a lesson and use our MC as a punching bag for his new training. Our main guy just glares at him with total disgust, calling him a try-hard lapdog. Triggered, the bully charges in, screaming that our boy's got too much nerve. Lin Xin and the rest of the crowd scream his name, totally shook by the sneak attack. Except, our MC casually stops the punch with just one hand. With his eyes glowing, he grips the dude's fists and reminds him he already promised to make both him and Zhang Yang regret everything. Zhao Lei starts panicking, not believing how a scrub with a 0.62 blood value could possibly overpower him. Then, our goat winds up for a counterattack, spinning his body to deliver a heavy blow. He lands a clean kick right on Zhao Lei's chin, making him scream in pain. The impact is brutal, and our main guy follows through, completely shattering the enemy's defense. The hit sends Zhao Lei flying across the room, screaming the whole way. Sprawled on the floor, the bully grabs his bleeding mouth, whining that his teeth got knocked out. Our boy steps up and drops a warning. Next time he dares to trash-talk his sister, he'll be losing way more than just a tooth. After that, he just casually grabs his backpack off the floor, and then he turns his back to walk away, leaving the bully in the dust. But Zhao Lei, still on the ground, spots a training sword right next to him and gets an idea. Blinded by rage, he snatches the weapon and rushes at our MC, screaming that he's finished. But our MC catches wind of the sneak attack from behind. The bully swings a sword with everything he's got. Our MC spins around and blocks the strike, but his arm morphs into a monstrous claw that straight up shatters the blade. The claw stops mere inches from Zhao Lei's face, making him fall backward, absolutely terrified. Giving him a death glare, our boy asks if he still wants to keep going. The crowd is totally mind-blown, wondering how his hand turned into a claw and if he's infected, since that is definitely not a human skill. While Lin Xin just thinks it's badass. Scared out of his mind, Zhao Lei just stutters, "You," unable to even look our main guy and his mutated arm in the eye. Scraping together whatever courage he has left, he throws out a threat, yelling at our boy to watch his back because his brother Zhang won't let him off the hook. Our MC calmly replies that he'll be waiting and dips, leaving the bully on the floor. The scene cuts to the factory at night. Our MC thinks to himself that the 12-hour cooldown for the Soul Devour skill is finally up, and he can absorb some new techniques. Right after he heads out to work, wondering what kind of new loot the day will bring. While some guy watches him, the dude walks up to him, asking why Lin Huang didn't bother saying hi when he saw him. He keeps going, complaining that kids these days have zero respect and that our boy should be way more grateful for the job he landed. In his head, our main guy claps back that the dude only hired him because he had no other options, and he's only sticking around because the pay is pretty sweet. The guy then tells him to get to work already since a fresh batch of casualties just rolled in for processing and he shouldn't be slacking off. So our boy makes his way down the hall. He steps into the processing room, where he spots stretchers with the remains of a monster and 2 soldiers. Looking at the remains, he realizes the number of fallen soldiers coming in has been spiking lately. That reminds him of the vision he got from the monster's memory, which showed the defense lines being totally overrun. Getting worried, our MC wonders if the front line is actually in trouble, but he quickly shakes off the thought, figuring that if things were really that bad, it would definitely be all over the news. Either way, he decides he needs to get stronger as fast as humanly possible. Paying his respects, he brings his hands together and silently apologizes to the fallen soldier. Then he touches the soldier, triggering his skill and starting to absorb a dark energy radiating from him. While soaking up the energy, our boy notices the soldier's uniform looks a lot like Li Yang's and crosses his fingers that he'll snag the same military technique to buff his own. The energy flows right into him, and he locks in, focusing hard on the absorption process. Then the system chimes in saying it read the memories of soldier Wang Mu Yang and gives him 3 skill options to pick from, including the military technique. Without even batting an eye, he locks in option A. Our MC then realizes that absorbing is a legit way to boost a skill's mastery, and this result is about to prove his whole theory. He pops open the skill details and sees that the military technique leveled up to 2, hitting 10% progress, which buffs his physique by 20% and lets him predict attacks. Hyped up, he celebrates, confirming that absorbing a duplicate skill actually levels it straight up. With a grin on his face, he thinks that if he keeps this up, he'll be maxing out his skills in no time. But then the system drops the bomb that Soul Devour is back on cooldown and he's gotta wait 12 hours to use it again. Bummed out, he kicks himself for forgetting his main skill has a cooldown and can't just be spammed non-stop. So he decides to knock out his shift first and get back to grinding his military technique mastery later. The scene then shifts to the front lines at the border, where a city is completely wrecked, and the ground is covered in fallen monsters and soldiers. Over there, 2 guys are carrying a wounded soldier on a stretcher, with one telling the other to take it easy since the guy's spine is busted, and he's got a severe neck injury. Nearby, a bunch of trucks are loaded to the brim with monster remains, while the cleanup crews move all around the area. One of the masked workers slaps the side of a vehicle and lets everyone know that truck number 1 is ready to roll out. With its headlights flashing on, the truck revs its engine, completely ready to hit the road, and then the rig starts moving, bouncing all over the place as it rolls through the wrecked terrain. The eye of the creature, which everyone thought was completely out of commission, snaps open, glowing with this creepy light in the dark. But right in the middle of that pile of beasts, one of the monsters twitches a little. Back at school, Lin Xin gets cornered in the hallway by the bully's gang. But this time he brought his older brother, Zhang Yang. Looking super stressed, she glares at the leader, who warns her that this is the last time he's gonna ask. Zhang Yang orders her to call our boy out to the courtyard, promising he won't lay a finger on him as long as he gets on his knees and begs Zhao Lei for forgiveness. And with a super threatening glare, he tells her that if she doesn't comply, she's not making it out of that hallway. But Lin Xin straight up refuses, shouting that there's no way that's happening since Zhao Lei started the whole thing, and our MC didn't do anything wrong. At that moment, Zhao Lei, looking like a total mummy in bandages. Tells his brother to stop wasting time and accuses her of being our main guy's accomplice, claiming she stood there laughing while he was getting wrecked. She's totally shocked and tries to deny it, yelling that it's all a bunch of lies. All of a sudden, one of the goons reaches out and snatches the notebook right out of her hands. He holds it way up high, mocking her and asking if these notes were for that trash of a guy. While she screams at him to give it back, the bully then grabs her arm super hard, telling her to shut her mouth. While flipping through the pages, the goon makes fun of her super detailed notes, with Zhao Lei holding her down so she can't fight back. Then he tells her it's a real shame because no matter how hard she tries, a loser will always be a loser, and he gets ready to rip the notebook in half. The dude totally shreds her notes right to her face as Lin Xin screams in panic for him to stop. Flashing a wicked smirk, Zhao Lei taunts her, saying, "Now she knows exactly what happens when you side with the wrong crowd." And then he straight up stomps on the shredded notebook. And he lets her know that the second he lays eyes on her little boyfriend, he's gonna beat the absolute brakes off him. So she just clamps down and bites his finger, making the bully completely lose it and slap her right across the face. She's totally stunned, trying to process what just went down. Just staring down at her ruined notebook, Lin Xin pulls herself together and stands up, and tries to snatch what's left of it back from the bald dude. The big bully looks over his shoulder and sees what's happening, and immediately grabs her by the collar. Lifting the poor girl right off the ground, he tells her to just give up. He drops her back down. The goons start talking trash, saying they're gonna mess her up, already winding up for a punch. The right as they're about to swing, the goat finally makes his entrance. Catching the goon's wrist mid-air, he asks if 4 guys teaming up on one girl don't feel completely embarrassed with themselves. But Lin Xin, still on the floor, begs him to just walk away, saying she's fine and doesn't want him picking a fight with them. Completely ignoring her, our MC violently twists the dude's arm, making him squeal in pain. Then, Zhang Yang turns around and locks eyes with our boy, saying he finally showed up, which saves them the hassle of hunting him down. Our MC picks up a torn scrap of the notes from the floor right where Lin Xin had written this sweet little motivational message for him. He crunches the paper in his fist, absolutely furious, and tells them he's just gonna treat them like a pack of wild dogs that chewed up her notebook. Zhang Yang scoffs, saying that for a total loser he sure talks a big game. But at the end of the day, he's all bark and no bite. Without missing a beat, our boy just decks the jerk right in the face. The punch lands perfectly, sending him flying backward. Zhang Yang, fuming with rage, threatens to absolutely destroy our MC. Then, glowing with this sick blue aura, our boy declares he's gonna pay them back double for all the humiliation they put her through. A couple of students watching from a distance are totally mind-blown, wondering if our MC has lost his marbles because right after beating up Zhao Lei, he's actually trying to take on Zhang Yang. The younger brother, still looking like a mummy, screams at the upperclassmen to wipe the floor with our boy without any mercy. Zhang Yang gets back up, now flaring with his own energy, and chuckles that this is getting interesting, since he didn't know our MC had that much guts. But taking him out right here would be way too boring. So instead, he challenges him to a public duel at the central training grounds in 3 days. Zhang Yang holds out a form and offers a deal. If our boy somehow manages to win, he won't just apologize and pay for the damages. He swears he'll never mess with them again. The paper is an official request for a public throwdown, and the head honcho keeps going, adding a nasty little catch if our guy loses. Flashing this cocky grin, he says that if our MC gets beat, he's gotta get on his knees in front of the whole school, admit he's a complete loser, and drop out for good. The crowd around them starts whispering that a public duel means the entire school is going to be watching, and that Zhang Yang's plan is to totally ruin our MC's reputation, saying he's totally cooked for acting so arrogant. Lin Xin grabs his arm and begs him not to take the bait, reminding him that his little sister still needs him to take care of her. Some other classmates try to talk him out of it too, pointing out that dropping out is no joke and the power gap between them is insane. Considering Zhang Yang's chi level is at 3.5 and his isn't even at a 1. Zhao Lei, looking like a total mess, taunts our MC, telling him to just admit he's terrified and get on his knees, because maybe his brother will take it easy on him, calling him a wimp trying to act tough. But our boy just snatches the form and confidently announces he accepts the challenge, but on one condition. He demands that the entire fight gets recorded and live-streamed for absolutely everybody to see. Then, he slaps his name, Lin Huang, right on the challenger's line, making the duel official. Right after that, our MC tosses the signed form straight back at Zhang Yang, The older guy catches the paper mid-air, while our boy smiles to himself, thinking he doesn't just want people to see him win in 3 days. He wants this beatdown documented forever. And with a dead serious look in his eyes, he finishes the thought, promising to show everyone who the real garbage around here is. Back on his shift at the monster disposal facility, our boy knows he needs to level up fast for this upcoming showdown. Walking down the hall with his coworkers, he punches in the passcode to get into the processing area. Super dialed in, he tells himself that over the next 3 days, he's got to sharpen his combat skills and absorb as many new abilities as humanly possible. And he makes it crystal clear to himself that losing this fight is simply not an option. Ben, his manager, gives them a heads up, but today's batch came from facility number 1, which totally isn't their usual delivery route. Our MC instantly tenses up, remembering that facility number 1 is the place that handles the absolute heavy-hitter monsters. One of his co-workers totally kisses up to the boss, bragging that the extra workload just proves how awesome their team is. And the manager eats it up, praising the guy and saying that since he's got the highest chi in the squad, he's getting a bonus. But literally a second later, that same manager turns to our boy and snaps at him to stop slacking off and get to work, asking if he's trying to lose his paycheck. Our MC just mutters that he's on it, but silently thinks about how fast this dude switches up his mood. So he pushes open the door to one of the burner rooms to kick off his shift. Inside, the buff co-worker is already whining about having to work overtime because of this massive spike in monster deliveries. Out of nowhere, this super dark energy starts leaking out of one of the creatures on the table. The guy completely freaks out when he feels this creepy vibe taking over the room, having absolutely no clue what's going on. The purple monster springs back to life right behind him, and the worker just freezes up in pure terror. And before he can even blink, the poor dude gets snatched up, and the heavy door slams shut. Over in burner room number 6, our boy pauses what he's doing and wonders what the heck that noise was, since he could have sworn he just heard somebody scream. But since it gets super quiet right after, he figures he's just hearing things and goes back to the grind. Stepping into his section, he's blown away to see that the whole room is just packed to the brim with these alien beast creatures. He realizes he won't get much practice with his dissection skills today, but he looks on the bright side, figuring this means fewer soldiers were lost out on the front lines. But when he takes a closer look at one of the beasts, he notices its tail is a really weird color and wonders if it was always like that. Leaning in closer, he literally watches the thing's tail start shifting colors, glowing with these bright purple and blue patterns. Our MC is super confused, realizing that the creature's scales are actually changing right in front of his eyes. All of a sudden, the monster snaps awake and towers over him, its eyes glowing and totally ready to strike. Our MC is completely baffled at how this thing is even still ticking. He totally dodges it, moving like the Flash. The beast touches down on the other side of the room, spinning around super fast and flexing its huge claws. But when our boy blinks and looks again, the creature is straight up gone, leaving him scratching his head, wondering how it just vanished into thin air. Then, taking a glance at the other creatures on the floor, it suddenly clicks. This thing was never dead to begin with, it was just camouflaging itself to look like the rest of the pile. Our MC realizes that a super dangerous monster literally managed to sneak right into the base using this exact trick. And if he doesn't do something fast, this whole place is going to turn into a total nightmare. So he shuts his eyes to dial in his senses, relying on his crazy sharp perception to find an opening against the enemy. The room is dead quiet, but our MC locks onto the tiniest little vibrations in the air. And suddenly, his eyes snap wide open, realizing he's got a lock on the target. Our boy grabs a massive tool off a nearby table. Without even blinking, he hurls the thing with all his might right at the spot where he felt the creature hiding. The heavy tool lands a direct hit on the invisible beast, forcing the sneaky monster to reveal itself. Right after that, the creature lunges at our boy with its razor-sharp claws. But right before getting hit, he activates his skill and takes a chunk out of the beast. He assesses the situation and realizes that, luckily, his level 2 military technique helped him predict the attack's path, leaving him with just a scratch. Just then, an alarm goes off telling everyone to evacuate because phantom beasts have popped up in several rooms, and our main guy is totally shocked to hear there are more of them around. The door starts to open. Our boy steps up carefully, figuring it's safe to head out since he doesn't feel any energy spikes coming from out there. Except when he steps out, our MC spots his coworker's body and realizes that the scream he heard earlier was actually his. Staring down the dark hallway, he wonders just how many other beasts managed to sneak into the base. Suddenly, he sees his supervisor and other staff members running in an absolute panic, screaming for help while being chased by shadowy monsters. Our main guy decides that saving people comes first, so he grabs his gear and gets ready to strike. He hurls his weapon with all his might, landing a direct hit on one of the charging creatures. Right then, another coworker opens the door to a security room and yells for everyone to get inside fast. The group makes a mad dash for the safe room with the monsters hot on their heels. Our boy thinks to himself that there's no way he can take on so many beasts at once, and the smartest move is to hit the safe zone and call for backup. But just as he's about to run, the supervisor shoves him from behind, yelling at him to stay back and hold off the creatures. With a look of total disgust, the boss says that a piece of trash like him is only good for being a human shield. Knocked to the ground, our boy glares at one of the monsters closing in and curses out that bunch of scumbags. He jumps back up, realizing that the beast's camouflage is so flawless that even a tiny slip in focus makes them completely undetectable. From inside, the supervisor yells not to worry about the trash and to shut the door, while a monster's claw almost reaches through the crack. Our boy goes into shock and screams frantically for them to wait a second. He sprints as fast as he can toward the closing door, begging them to wait for him. From the inside, the supervisor yells to forget the trash, saying that if he bites the dust, it's one less burden, and our MC curses him out with pure hatred. Then he turns to the door and demands they open it no matter what. In utter desperation, he pounds on the metal door, but it doesn't budge an inch. But right then, his panic turns into pure determination, and he turns around to face the threat head-on. He stares down the four creatures, noticing they're super coordinated and know exactly how to fight as a team. With a serious look on his face, our boy realizes that running is no longer an option, and he's got to fight to survive. He remembers the frontline soldiers who face way worse situations, but push past their fear to fight bravely. And since he inherited their skills, our main guy tells himself he can't back down or get scared now. Plus, he reminds himself that his sister is still waiting for him, and there's no way he can kick the bucket here. With a focused mind, he charges at one of the creatures, warning that he's starting with that one, and throws a massive punch. The beast looks visibly stunned, totally not expecting such a direct counterattack. He goes all in. He realizes that since his proficiency in military martial arts went up, he can now feel the energy shifts whenever he focuses. Our MC manages to spot the creature's weak point, and using his upgraded perception, he hones in on the energy core and pinpoints that the beast's weak spot is right there. Without hesitating, our boy strikes the weak spot and punches straight through the creature's chest with a devastating blow. But he barely has time to catch his breath before another beast lunges at him, and he grumbles that another one is already here. Confident that he can win, he dodges and strikes, telling himself he just needs to keep up this momentum. The hit sends the second creature crashing into the first one, and they both hit the deck with a heavy thud. Then, seizing the moment, our boy uses one of the downed beasts as a springboard to leap toward his next target. In mid-air, he lands a brutal haymaker right on the third monster's head, cracking its skull. After finishing off the third one, he lands and notices there are only 2 enemies left, while his arm pulses with energy. But as he looks around, he's totally confused when he can't find the remaining creatures, wondering if they just vanished into thin air. Standing next to one of the bodies, he figures the last 2 are stronger since he can't sense any energy spikes coming off them. Even so, he's dead sure the bugs are still hovering nearby and knows he absolutely cannot let his guard down, so he decides to chill out and close his eyes, believing that if he stays locked in, he'll definitely find an opening. He heightens his hearing to the max, trying to pick up any tiny sound in the dead silence of the room. Right then, he catches a faint noise coming from above, barely noticeable, like a low buzz. And when he looks up toward the sound, he sees black sludge dripping and oozing from the ceiling. With a sigh of relief, our MC finally spots exactly where the last enemies were hiding. With a laser-focused look, our boy announces he found it. Then he jumps right at it, readying his glowing red claw to strike the hidden creature. He lands a solid hit right in the monster's mouth. But right before he finishes the job, he senses some weird movement. With his mental alarm going off, he realizes there's something right behind him just as the final creature bursts out of the shadows. Before he can even turn around, the thing hits him with a sneak attack. The attack catches our boy's left arm dead on, and he curses at the monster for pulling a cheap shot. He sees his arm is pretty much out of commission, but he just grits his teeth. Across the room, the last creature glares at him on the floor, getting ready to pounce. But our main guy notices it vanished again. Though he confidently declares that this time it won't escape his sight, he notices something dripping. Sensing its presence, he looks up and confirms the monster is hanging out right there on the ceiling. The creature stares back, looking totally shocked, unable to figure out how it got spotted so easily. But our boy cracks a wicked grin and reveals his plan. He let the monster get covered in his blood on purpose just so he could track it. The beast looks down at its claws, now stained with the blood that's basically acting like a GPS tracker, jumping with all his strength. With his dual claws, our MC unleashes a flurry of brutal attacks, tearing the last monster to absolute shreds. He lands back down, digging his claws into the floor to keep his balance right in the middle of the creature's remains. Panting and totally exhausted, he tells himself he can't go down just yet. With heavy eyes, he thinks he really needs to hurry up to get out of there. But his body just gives out, and he passes out, hitting the floor. But all of a sudden, let's say, black energy starts leaking out of the tail of one of the fallen monsters. Even while knocked out, our boy manages to absorb the beast's soul. Meanwhile, a squad of soldiers pushes down a hallway, calculating they're about 30 meters from the security room. The squad leader yells for everyone to stay on high alert since they suspect there are monsters just ahead. But one of the soldiers wearing a mask stops dead in his tracks, completely mind-blown by the scene he walks into. They see the room totally littered with monster carcasses and our MC passed out on the floor, and one of them wonders if that kid really pulled all that off by himself. Suddenly, the supervisor comes running out of the safe room asking in total relief if they finally made it, and if the monsters are dead yet. The squad captain declares the area secure, but orders everyone to stay battle-ready, splitting the teams up to handle the survivors and check out the zone. Checking out one of the creature's bodies, the leader notices the cuts are super jagged and definitely don't look like they were made by standard weapons. Right then, a soldier checking on our boy yells out that he's still alive, and the captain wicks around in surprise. But the supervisor points frantically at our MC's hand, screaming for everyone to look at it. Our boy's hand is completely mutated, sporting monstrous claws and wrapped in some dark energy. A soldier aims his gun and warns that the kid has mutated, saying they need to take him out while he's still unconscious before he goes full monster. But the captain stops him, telling him to hold up because he notices our boy's hand is going through another change. The supervisor starts freaking out and yells at the captain not to hesitate, claiming that if the kid wakes up, they're all done for. In his head, the supervisor stresses that he can't let our main guy live, otherwise the fact that he left him for dead will totally get exposed. Then the captain gets pissed, draws his sword and tells the supervisor to shut his mouth, threatening to take him out first if he says another word. The captain points out that the clues around the room and the chunks of flesh under our boy's nails prove he's the one who took down all 4 monsters. A masked soldier looks stunned, mentioning that their whole squad would have had a tough time dealing with 4 of those creatures. Yet this kid did it solo, but the supervisor yells that the kid's vitality is only 0.68, making it impossible for him to pull that off without being infected, insisting they need to off him just to be safe. Then the captain grabs him and wonders if our MC, who wiped out 4 monsters with such a low power level, could actually be the legendary heavenly gift. He points to our boy's hand, which has already gone back to normal, and says that a real infection is irreversible, so him healing up proves there's no issue, questioning why the supervisor is panicking so hard. The guy stammers, trying to cover his tracks by saying he was just worried about everyone's safety. The captain then declares they need people with high combat power and orders his team to take responsibility for the kid, dismissing the others. Right after that, the scene cuts to a hospital. Our MC starts waking up in a bed to the sound of footsteps getting closer. He sits up in bed, totally confused, and wonders what that sound is and if he's really in a hospital. Right then, the captain shows up and tells him to chill out since he's totally in the clear now. Our boy gives him the side eye and asks who the heck he is. The guy flashes his badge and introduces himself as Chen Zhen, the captain of the contamination cleanup squad. Chen Zhen then takes a bow and apologizes, explaining that the monster invasion was on them and they totally dropped the ball by not getting there in time to help. Our MC brushes it off, saying it came out of nowhere, and it is what it is, while Chen Zhen helps him lay back down. Chen Zhen leans in and tells our main guy that he did them a massive solid by taking out 4 monsters, especially since one of them was elite tier. Then he actually invites him to become a warrior and join his squad. Our boy gets super hyped, a huge smile lighting up his face, and asks if he can really team up with them. The captain is low-key surprised by the hype, pointing out that most people would hesitate, and asks what's fueling all this motivation. Our MC gets a flashback to the scenes at the crematorium, remembering all those monsters and brave warriors going down in battle. He goes on to say that with so many soldiers falling in the line of duty, he doesn't want to just sit around waiting for his turn. With the image of his sister in his head, our boy declares that he'd way rather fight to protect his family. Chen Zhen totally gets it, but hits him with a reality check. He needs to pass the warrior selection test first before joining the crew. In his head, the captain realizes the kid doesn't just have the muscles, but also the guts to put it all on the line for his family. making him a solid recruit. Our MC looks super bummed out, remembering that the test requires a vitality score of at least 3, and he's nowhere near that. But then Chen Zhen hands him a piece of paper and tells him he's officially qualified. Since that document is a personal recommendation from him to take the test, the captain gives him a heads up that the selection exam kicks off in 1 month. After that, he tells our boy to gear up and get ready, then leaves the room, shutting the door behind him. Left alone, our MC looks at the paper and smiles, thinking that becoming a warrior means scoring access to top-tier medical resources and maybe even finding a cure for his sister. Out of nowhere, a holographic screen pops up saying it's reading the soul memory of the elite monster, and our main guy realizes it belongs to the last beast he took down. The system tells him to pick a skill to train between scale defense, claw enhancement, or aura camouflage, and our MC is hyped that yesterday's showdown actually paid off. He then takes a second to think about which of the 3 options would be the ultimate pick. Our boy figures that the scale defense is super tough and great for tanking hits. On the flip side, the claw enhancement would just keep boosting his attack power, which is already pretty cracked. And finally, he thinks about the aura camouflage, basically the ultimate stealth mode. He remembers that if it hadn't been for those drops of blood, the elite monster's camouflage would have been flawless, so with a smirk, he decides to go with that one. So he taps the screen and locks in the camouflage skill, getting ready for his upcoming clash with Zhang Yang. The system warns that the aura camouflage lasts as long as the host's energy, and then Lin Huang unleashes a blue power. The screen then shows he can totally hide his presence to merge with the environment, and Lin sees his own hand glowing, but he realizes the concealment isn't perfect yet, saying he'll need way more practice. Then the panel displays the level 2 military martial art, boosting vigor by 20%, finding weak points, and predicting attacks half a second early. Next up are level 1 shark claws, giving 5% more tearing damage, and level 1 presence camouflage, making his body kinda transparent when still or blurry when moving, using half his vigor. Since he can't devour souls right now, our hero decides to train his current skills to the max. Clenching his fist confidently, he celebrates having another ace up his sleeve for the duel against Zhang Yang next week. Deep in the forest, Lin Huang explains that camouflage isn't just being invisible, it's becoming part of the environment itself. But a bird lands on his shoulder, and he complains, frustrated that he couldn't even fool the animal, deciding to try all over again. Then he sits down to meditate, focused, saying he needs to control his energy as much as possible, just like a monster. Soon after, he stands up, watching his hand slowly disappear, noticing the range and level of concealment are increasing, so he'll keep using this method. Later, the kid stands in front of a big mirror and touches the glass, observing his reflection. His hand touching the surface starts to become totally transparent, vanishing from sight. Smiling excitedly, he notices half his body is already invisible, just the other part left. To top it off, the system says level 1 camouflage proficiency went up 5%, while the kid keeps staring at his form disappearing in the mirror. Lin Hong smiles confidently with a blue aura around him, celebrating that he finally did it. He squeezes a book hard, saying he's going to show Zhang Yang who the real trash is. At the training arena, the crowd comments they've never seen a public duel, and that the kid will get expelled and humiliated with such low vitality against his rival. His friend in the stands looks worried, wondering if something happened since he missed the last few days. Meanwhile, Zhang Yang's henchman says the traps on the stage are ready and guarantees Lin Huang won't leave alive. Right after, a foot stomps firmly, creating an impact wave. It's Zhang Yang, swaggering forward, surrounded by intense flames. With an arrogant smirk, he mocks, asking where the trash Lin Huang is and if he ran away scared. Then a woman in the crowd sighs, disappointed, saying Zhang Yang has no idea what's coming and will definitely be defeated. Suddenly, a loud bang echoes through the place, marking a dramatic entrance. Lin Huang appears, walking calmly with a gust of wind around him. He climbs the gym stairs with determined steps, but looking at the floor, he quickly notices the color at the edge of the stage looks a bit weird. The two finally face each other, and Zhang provokes, thinking he chickened out. But Lin gives an ironic smile and tells Zhang to start planning how to apologize on his knees. Zhang Yang charges furiously, telling Lin Hong to go to hell for talking so much trash. Then Zhang throws a powerful punch, cutting through the air towards the kid. But the kid easily dodges while Zhang mocks, asking how long he'll keep running. Zhang then unleashes a brutal combo, but Lin escapes every single one without breaking a sweat. In the crowd, the henchman cheers excitedly, telling Zhang to finish the kid quickly to show the difference in level. Lin Huang then stomps his foot, gaining momentum for a bigger attack. With his fist engulfed in intense flames, Zhang warns this blow will get Lin expelled from school. Then Zhang Yang unleashes the flaming punch with full force. The impact creates a huge explosion right on top of Lin. But amidst the fire, the kid gives a confident smile, saying this was exactly the moment he was waiting for. The villain's attack goes right through the hero, revealing it's just an illusion, leaving the aggressor completely shocked. In the stands, Lin Huang's friend is wide-eyed, commenting impressed that Lin hid an incredible disappearing skill. Annoyed, his rival grinds his teeth, asking if he really thinks he'll win using cheap tricks. Then he starts punching the air desperately, telling the kid to show himself already. To finish, an invisible blow from the hero hits Zhang squarely in the back, making him scream in pain. With his hand on his injured shoulder, Zhang yells furiously, warning he's going to kill Lin Huang. Then he points to the side, telling his henchman to activate the traps to force the kid out, and the henchman immediately agrees. A metal grid full of blue electricity then activates around the stage, and out of nowhere, gigantic flames erupt from the ground, covering everything. In the middle of the fire, the villain looks around, mocking, asking where Lin will run now. Then the woman in the stands up, desperate, telling them to stop everything because this breaks the fight rules. But the enemy gives an evil smile, replying that inside here, he is the law. Then Lin Huang suddenly appears right in front of him, advancing through the flames. To top it off, the aggressor makes a maniacal face, celebrating that he finally found the kid. The hero jumps back, escaping a devastating blow that shatters the floor. With a focused look, Lin realizes a head-on fight won't work and decides to look for a weak point to attack. His rival then charges full force, covered in shining blue energy armor. Analyzing the situation, the hero notices the complete protection and concludes he needs to find the power source to cut the flow. The enemy then gives a sadistic smile as the light on his chest shines brighter. Lin then focuses his vision and discovers the energy core is right in the enemy's abdomen. The aggressor then throws a heavy punch, but only hits an illusion of Lin Huang. Surprised, the villain's eyes widen, annoyed that he disappeared again. Furious, Zhang yells that trash is always trash and only knows dirty tricks. Suddenly, several shadow claws shoot towards him. It's Lin Huang, appearing and attacking with a demonic arm, but the blow hits directly on the blue barrier. Seeing the impact, he's shocked because the blades couldn't pierce the defense. Mockingly, Zhang warns that it's high-level protection and tells the kid to give up trying to hurt him, but the young man retreats calmly, saying he's still gonna test the limits of that armor. To finish, Lin clenches his normal fist, deciding that since cutting failed, he'll use impact blows to break the defense by force. His rival looks calmly, saying if he observes carefully, he'll definitely find Lin's weak point. The hero then jumps really high, preparing a powerful punch from above. He unleashes the blow with full force, but the enemy blocks the attack, creating a giant impact wave. With an arrogant smile and his arm glowing blue, Zhang mocks, asking if that's all and if the kid didn't need anything. Lin Huang then quickly retreats, putting distance between himself and the aggressor. But the villain notices something strange and says he feels an energy fluctuation. With a sharp look, he gives an evil smile, celebrating that he finally found the hero's opening. Lin then charges again, landing a direct kick on the opponent's armor. His rival calmly defends the blow, repeating that it's max-level protection, so hitting it is useless. Not giving up, Lin Huang crouches and gains momentum, yelling he'll attack one more time. Then he throws a heavy punch right in the middle of the enemy's blue shield. The impact cracks the barrier, and the hero excitedly notices the defense cracked, just a little more to destroy everything. Surprised, Zhang Yang's eyes widen, seeing the attack almost pierce his protection, but he reacts quickly, grabbing the hero's arm tightly and gives a sadistic smile. To finish, the villain pulls the kid close, warning that his cheap tricks don't work anymore, and tells him to die already. Lin Huang focuses his gaze, thinking he just needs to endure this predicted blow from the martial art. His rival then lands a heavy punch right in Lin's face, who endures the impact with gritted teeth. The hero's eyes widen, saying the perfect moment is now. Then he unleashes a dark energy attack with full force directly at the enemy's defense. The impact makes the guy's blue armor crack completely, leaving him sweating cold in despair. But the villain then mocks, saying the kid only knows how to be invisible and attack by surprise, which is why his vitality is so low, guaranteeing a coward will never be a warrior. But then Huang stands up, surrounded by a dark aura, saying he won't use invisibility or dirty tricks anymore. Then he charges full force, declaring he'll decide the fight in a single blow. Confidently, his rival smiles, scoffing, asking if the kid got stupid from the hits, since those weak claws can't even scratch his protection. The hero then jumps with his demonic arm ready to attack, retorting, asking how he'll know if he doesn't try again. Then Zhang Yang prepares an energy-charged kick, yelling this last blow will get the kid expelled from school. Then he unleashes the flying kick with full force to crush his opponent. But Lin faces the attack head-on, noticing the blow is deadly, celebrating that he predicted the move beforehand, using his military technique. In a blink of an eye, the kid pierces the enemy's chest, shattering the armor into pieces, and asks if he really thought his moves wouldn't be read. To finish, the villain's eyes widen in total shock, feeling the pain and can only stutter, terrified. The impact makes the rival's blue armor crack completely and shatter into pieces amidst the flames, leaving the guy in shock and sweating cold, not believing what's happening. The protection then explodes completely, sending shards of energy everywhere, making Zheng let out a loud cry of pain and despair. Fallen to his knees in the fire, Zhang Yang holds his injured chest, yelling desperately that it's impossible to lose to trash. But the hero stares down at the guy with his demonic arm, coldly saying he's nothing more than this. Sweaty and angry, the villain can barely speak, just stammering with his eyes fixed on the kid. Not caring, the hero turns his back and leaves, abandoning the loser on the stage floor. In the stands, the crowd goes wild, and one student comments, shocked, that the kid is no longer a failure, while the henchman praises his strength. And right next to him, a spectator's eyes widened, stammering in disbelief that Zhang Yang actually fell. Then our boy's friend smiles in relief, celebrating because she already knew he'd win. But in the VIP box, the rival's father is furious, grumbling that his son is a disgrace for getting beaten by a nobody. The school director, tense, tries to explain, promising to investigate the young man's strange powers next week to provide an answer. The old man agrees immediately, decreeing that whoever breaks the rules of the place must pay dearly. To calm things down, the director guarantees he'll deliver a satisfactory result to the boss. With a maniacal look, Zhang Yang's father mentally warns our hero that he made a fatal mistake and messed with the wrong person. Meanwhile, Lin Wang walks down the gym stairs with calm steps. Suddenly, something vibrates in his pocket, catching his attention. It's his communicator, so he decides to check it. Reading the message, he discovers the transfer to the max-level crematorium and gives an excited smile, since the danger there is greater, but the money and strong souls will yield new powers. Lin Hong walks calmly, thinking it's still early, so he decides to go to the hospital to see his sister. Lin then arrives in front of the city's large medical center. Inside, the kid stands in front of a glowing healing tank, observing the patient. His sister is submerged in water, covered in bandages, breathing through an oxygen mask. With a sad look, Lin Huang touches the glass, saying he finally arrived. He then remembers the past when some kids made fun of him, saying his energy was worse than a dog's and he'd be useless with no future. But suddenly, his older sister appears, furious, kicking the bullies and yelling she'll break anyone who messes with her little brother, making the bullies flee in fear. Still annoyed, she warns she won't forgive anyone who badmouths the kid, while he asks her to calm down. Then the young woman gives a sweet smile and hands Lin a lollipop, assuring him he's the best and shouldn't care what anyone thinks. Back in the present, the young man swears he'll find a way to cure her since she always protected him, but a voice calls his name, saying they need to talk about the patient. Surprised, the hero immediately turns his head to see who's calling. He comes face to face with the doctor in charge and asks the guy to tell him what's happening already. The specialist explains that the girl ate contaminated food and the nutrition capsule can only keep her basically alive. Staring at the tank, the doctor reveals the contamination worsened a lot and reached her organs, so at this rate, she only has 6 more months to live. The hero's eyes widen in shock, desperately questioning how the time dropped to 6 months if everything was being controlled with medicine. The doctor tells Lin that the medicine was used for too long and the patient must have already developed antibodies. Desperate, the kid yells, asking if there's no other way out and guarantees he'll do anything to save his sister. Calmly, the specialist replies that there is a way, but it's pretty unrealistic right now, and the young man tells him to spill it. So the doctor explains that a sunstone can stop the contamination, but the item is a super protected national treasure, hard to get. He adds, reminding that the girl was a genius valued by the country, and even so, the government didn't help when she fell into a coma, so now it's almost impossible for them to do anything. Thoughtfully, the hero finds everything very strange, since his sister was the best of her generation, and it makes no sense for the country to have turned its back on her. But then his face hardens with determination and he swears he won't give up no matter what, whether by seeking the stone or any other solution. Later, Lin Huang arrives in front of a giant industrial complex that functions as the region's #1 crematorium. He walks calmly until he stops in front of a large armored metal door, marking room 3. Inside, the kid decides he needs to get stronger fast and become a real warrior to get the government's treasure. He then stares at some bodies on the other side of a glass, finding the situation strange, thinking the war worsened since there are only human remains there, including doctors, and no monsters. So Lin stops in front of 3 covered stretchers with the corpses and clasps his hands, asking permission from the dead veterans before starting work. But suddenly, one of the deceased sits up on the stretcher out of nowhere and starts emitting dark, sinister smoke. The creature stands up, revealing red eyes and sharp teeth, and charges full force, roaring loudly and covered in malevolent energy. Lin Huang is startled and quickly retreats, already getting into a defensive position to face the threat. Scared, the hero's eyes widen, asking if the corpse just resurrected. The creature then lets out a loud roar and leaps full force at the kid. The monster's creature charges full force at Lin and tries to land a blow with its dark energy claws. The creature attacks again with savage blows, but the kid quickly retreats and dodges the shadowy blades. Lin prepares himself in case that thing attacks him. The monster then crouches and growls loudly, becoming completely covered in a malevolent aura. The hero then frowns, realizing the frontline combatant was contaminated. He then laments the situation, remembering that man sacrificed himself for the country and fought until the last second. Suddenly, the corpse charges furiously and shoots towards Lin Huang, but the creature throws a heavy punch and the hero defends, crossing his arms to withstand the impact. Holding the attack, the kid notices the creature uses military techniques and concludes that the unconscious body acts only by muscle memory. He then gives a confident smile, deducing that a fixed pattern has obvious flaws, and predicts the next blow will be a straight right that leaves the enemy's stance unstable. As expected, the monster unleashes the punch with full force, and the kid dodges and ducks quickly. The creature's arm goes straight through, tearing the air, while the hero slicks past its guard. He takes advantage of the opening and lands a precise kick on the opponent's leg to break the guy's posture. With the enemy off balance, the young man yells that now's the time and charges, pushing the creature's arm. To finish, he lands a heavy blow right on the monster's chest, throwing the creature's body backward. The kid lands hard, striking a devastating blow on the ground, creating a giant crater with an absurd shockwave. Standing before the fallen body of his opponent, he apologizes for the damage. But suddenly, the unconscious monster starts cracking its bones and making bizarre noises amidst the debris. A dark aura then covers the crazy guy, who gains glowing red eyes and a terrifying smile. Scared, Lin Huang quickly jumps back, asking what kind of madness that is. The creature then stands up, totally transformed into a huge, muscular monster, and lets out a furious roar. Seeing the scene, the hero notes, shocked, that the enemy turned into a real beast. Without wasting time, the creature charges and throws a heavy punch, but the kid crosses his arms to defend the impact. The blow makes him slide across the floor as he tensely realizes the rival's strength and speed increased a lot. The abomination then lunges again, with claws ready to tear everything. But the young man is fast, ducks, and dodges the attack that brushes past him. Furious, the mutant opens a giant mouthful of sharp teeth right in the kid's face. He takes advantage of the opening and counterattacks with a powerful blow from bottom to top. The punch hits the aggressor's chest squarely, throwing the heavy body backward, defenseless. To finish, the impact generates an absurd explosion of force in the air, marking a successful hit. Lin Huang wipes his mouth, tense, noting that the enemy's appearance and attack pattern turned into a monster's. He then remembers the original soldier yelling to kill the beasts and protect the country. With a serious face, the kid states he saw with his own eyes what a real warrior should be. The creature roars, covered in a dark aura, while the hero confesses he held back his strength because he still saw the guy as human. But now the situation changed. He clenches his fist, understanding that turning into this creature wasn't the veteran's intention. The hero then looks up, determined, and promises he'll help him. The focus then goes directly to the beast's chest, revealing an exposed, dark core amidst the muscles. Our boy charges full force at absurd speed, declaring the weak point is in the heart. The abomination attacks with giant claws, but the young man slides underneath and dodges the deadly blow. The hero's arm then takes on a demonic form, full of dark energy and sharp claws. In a quick movement, he pierces the enemy's chest squarely, hitting the target. The impact makes the creature's heart explode, leaking a lot of malevolent smoke everywhere. He stares at the fallen beast, defeated, and tells the veteran to rest in peace. Suddenly, a system screen appears, announcing that the military martial art has risen to intermediate level 3. The kid looks back calmly, admitting that if the guy still had human consciousness, he definitely wouldn't have been able to win. The monster's body falls to the ground and starts emitting black, sinister smoke. The creature then stands up again and begins to transform, with exposed bones and rotting flesh. Scared, Lin's eyes widen and he yells that it's contamination. He runs to the door and tries to open it, but realizes he needs someone on both sides to unlock it. With a tense face, the kid laments that human contamination is irreversible. Then he yells that if he stays there, he'll also turn into a monster. Suddenly, the system announces the mission is complete and asks if he wants to be teleported out of the crematorium. Refusing to flee, Lin grips his weapon with a serious expression, ready to finish what he started. With a calm, focused gaze, he solidifies his decision not to back down. The young man takes a deep breath, processing the battle's intensity and facing the system interface. Determined, he turns his face to observe what's left in his surroundings. In the center of the room, the fallen veteran's body emits a strong, mysterious blue light. Lin instinctively assumes a defensive stance before cautiously approaching the stretcher. He stops and observes the lifeless body, silently paying respect to the soldier's sacrifice. Curious, the kid extends his hand and touches the man's clothes to investigate. His dark energy threads then act on their own, extracting the vital essence directly from the deceased's chest. The hero holds the absorbed energy and begins to receive a flow of unknown information. Through the energy, Lin accesses the man's memories, discovering he was, in fact, a brilliant scientist and doctor. In the memories, the scientist appears talking to a colleague about research in front of a large energy crystal. Our hero's eyes gleam, shocked, absorbing all this new knowledge. The vision focuses on a necklace with a bright golden crystal held firmly in the memories. The spiritual figure of the deceased doctor appears before Lin, as if passing on his legacy. The memories show the researcher running and rushing out of a facility. Soon after, the memory reveals the man surrounded by intense flames and destruction during an enemy attack. In an act of pure sacrifice, the scientist's body is seen falling amidst the devouring fire. The scene shows the hero's silhouette absorbing the last sparks of this heroic soul in the crematorium room. Lin Huang's eyes open wide, impacted by the weight of the sacrifice and everything he just witnessed. The memory continues, showing the scientist smiling happily, holding the positive results of his research. He's seen working tirelessly in his lab, testing liquids in various test tubes. But the mood soon darkens when the doctor argues with the hospital director, trying to get his project approved. Not giving up, the man grabs his medical bag and runs determinedly towards the battlefield. On the front line, he delivers equipment and support medicines to the exhausted soldiers. With a sympathetic and very focused look, he monitors the critical situation of the wounded. A briefcase then opens, revealing 3 technological vials containing a bright blue serum. The soldiers drink the potion and immediately feel a giant wave of vitality running through their bodies. Thanks to the medicine's effect, the troop regains full strength and charges full force at a horde of monsters. Seeing the practical success, a scientist notes in a notebook that the medicine might be optimized. The image then focuses on a torn medicine vial with the name, Life Elf. Lin Huang looks surprised, understanding that after drinking it, the medicine injects enormous vitality that can save his sister. A system screen then appears telling the host to choose a skill from the deceased to extract, giving Potion Mastery as the first option. The young man points to the first option, Potion Mastery. A screen congratulates our boy for having the passive skill of expert-level potion mastery and warns that he can learn the recipes Ascending Dragon, Guardian, and Life Elf. Lin sits down and says that with the amulet and potion knowledge, he'll be able to cure his sister. Then he appears in front of a huge building that is the hospital. Inside, he sees his sister in the treatment capsule, and the screen shows 75% contamination. The kid looks at the screen worriedly, repeating that the contamination reached 75%. His sister coughs inside the capsule. The capsule releases smoke. Lin Huang approaches his sister in the capsule and says he won't back down. He puts a necklace around her neck. He looks at the capsule screen and says he can't rush because the medicine might take a while to work. The capsule screen shows 75% contamination and time passing, 10, 20, 30 seconds. Lin looks at his sister in the capsule and wonders if the stone isn't working or if the contamination is too deep. The capsule slowly closes. The young man questions if the necklace is ineffective or if his sister is too contaminated. He then decides that no matter what, he'll find a way to create a medicine to save her life. It's Qingteng Academy, a place full of light and brilliance. Inside a classroom, Lin Huang is sitting at his desk while other students chat. He thinks the most urgent thing is to test the medicine formula, but if it has too many side effects, it's useless. He then sees that the materials for Life Elf are in contaminated areas, but the most important herb isn't at the pharmacy. Lin grumbles that some contaminated areas have military guards, so he can't get in. He closes his notebook and his friend asks why he's been so distracted these days. She invites him to a new cafe near school after class to talk. Lin replies he has an engagement and won't be able to go. The girl warns that if he has any problems, he just needs to say, and she'll help. She smiles and says she wants to return the favor since he saved her life before. A classmate then comments he heard military cars were seen near the dormitory and asks if something big is going to happen. The hero thinks the army doesn't usually appear in residential areas and wonders if something new is going on. His friend thinks it can't be hidden for long. She quietly asks Lin if he has any inside information. He just stares at her in silence, confirming nothing. She then gets even closer to his face, creating a somewhat intimate atmosphere as she tries to get a response. Surprised by her attitude, the hero gets tense while the girl blushes, very close to him. To break the mood, the young man quickly gets up from his chair and decides to leave, leaving his friend behind. Outside, he walks focused, knowing he needs to find the materials for the potion. The image focuses on the rare glowing red crystal herb he desperately needs to find to save his sister. As he walks, Lin can't get his friend's sudden closeness in the classroom out of his head. With a bead of sweat on his head, he sighs and tries to push those thoughts away to focus on what matters. With a sharp gaze, he fully refocuses on his infiltration mission. Later, the hero arrives at the outskirts of the contaminated area and observes the spotlights in the military security fence. He hides, crouched in the bushes, carefully watching the patrol of heavily armed soldiers. Hidden in the shadows, the kid analyzes the situation with a serious expression, calculating the best moment to act. Without wasting time, he activates his blue energy, preparing his body for quick movement. Using his technique, he dashes at an absurd speed, leaving only a blue trail behind. With a precise jump, he goes straight over the security fence without making a sound. To complete the perfect invasion, the young man lands softly on the other side of the military fence. One of the guards on duty stops and looks back, confused, feeling something passed by. The soldier sweeps the area with his gaze towards the spotlights but finds nothing abnormal. He then comments to his partner, thinking it was just his imagination, and the two calmly continue their patrol. Meanwhile, Lin Huan's boot steps firmly on the rocky ground of the restricted area. The hero lands crouched, alert and ready to face the dangers of the contaminated zone. The image reveals a scene of total destruction, with the kid walking through a ruined city covered in snow and fog. Cautiously, he leans against the debris of a wall to observe his surroundings. The monstrous beast is coiled around the building, sleeping, and right beneath it is the sought-after red crystal herb. He observes with a little more attention, thinking of a way to get the red crystal herb. Lin approaches to pick the herb, which is very close to the snake. Very carefully, Lin reaches out to grab the glowing plant without waking the beast. But to his bad luck, the snake's giant eye suddenly opens, glowing a menacing red. The immense serpent lifts its head and stares at the intruder just as he was about to grab the treasure. Lin's eyes widen, and he starts sweating cold, realizing he was caught red-handed. Without thinking twice, he activates his military technique and makes an explosive jump backward to dodge the danger. To top it off, the beast roars enraged as it charges full force, forcing the hero to fight for his life to get the cure.